This morning I spoke to Martyn Simpson from Dunmore East in County Waterford. Martyn is the chairman of the East Waterford Lobster Fishermen's Association. He explained to me this morning by telephone the past, the present and the future of what has been a very successful lobster V-notching programme.
Hello, Brian.
Hello Martyn, how are you?
Good.
Very good. Okay, so briefly tell us about the history of lobster fishing in Dunmore East and the formation of the East Waterford Lobster Fishermen's Association.
Well, okay, started in 1995, I think, and it was basically what just everyone felt the catch rate was going down too much, and Kilmore Quay had set up a lobster restocking co-op a year or two before because they felt the same thing, and we followed suit. There was too much gear on the ground, we thought at the time, and there was too much effort, and there was a great appetite to take on this American model that they developed in Maine for protecting the stocks, the V-notch system, V-notch restocking system. So that's kind of how it started. And yeah, here we are, 26 years later, I think it is, still restocking.
Was there much interest at the beginning with the other fishermen?
Loads of interest, yeah, a lot of interest. Most people were very supportive. Even some of the guys who had trawlers at the time paid into it. Because at the time, the way it was set up, it was I think it was £100 to join or something. I forget what it was actually now, Brian, but it was something like £150 for the skipper and a boat owner, and I think it was £100 for a crewman to join, and be signed up to it. Then not everyone had to join or anything, but there was great uptake in it, and some of the guys, as I said, in the bigger boats who had no intention of ever probably going potting. Like I said, Brian Crummy has just recently left us. They could see an eye to the future and thought it was a good thing. So even guys who weren't at the pots were quite happy to pay the subscription and a few pound every year, because the funding of the thing then was also 2% levy was stopped. It was collected by the buyers. And that money was paid in then, and then BIM would have subsidised the rest of it. So those guys who weren't even catching shellfish, they still threw in a few quid, I suppose, to be in line with the 2% levy that was being stopped. So there was a great attitude towards it for the most part, great appetite for it, and yeah.
Tell us about the procedure of V-notching. What exactly is a V-notching scheme? What is the process?
Right, so it's now an association that we have now, not necessarily a co-op, but the principle is the same. You've got a few of us meet up when we decide we have enough fish coming in. We tell boats when we're going to be doing the V-notching on a particular day, and they bring in female lobsters that we then weigh up, and we put a clip in their tail, and specially designed clippers, and that marks that fish then, and they're paid market value for those, so the fisherman gets paid, and the boats bring those fish back to sea again, leave them off on the ground, and then every time you haul up the gear and you get one of those, they're actually protected by legislation. It's illegal to land those fish then. We just catch them and throw them back. And so that's your brood stock then, helping your brood stock, putting those fish back on the ground, and it's a great thing. Fantastic.
In your view, has it been successful in terms of sustainability?
It's fantastic. There's very few would argue with the fact that it isn't working. Most people would tell you in Dunmore that without it there'd be nothing left. The amount of small stuff on the ground now over a wide area, I've noticed myself in the last 4 seasons, I'd say, getting very small lobsters, like a medium size Dublin Bay prawn size, that size of lobster, getting them off to like 3 or 4 or 5 miles off actually even, and never saw that before. Up to about 4 years ago, you'd very rarely see a prawn-sized lobster even, but now every day you're picking up this extra run of really small ones, which is odd, because it's odd that they haven't been seen such numbers before, considering how long we're doing it. But those little baby fellas up to like 4 and 5 miles, you never see them before. You wouldn't even see them on the shore before. But at times there's vast numbers of small lobsters over a wide area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's worked very well.
Very
no
good.
question about it.
Very good. And what is the current state of the lobster fishery? I mean, what factors are currently threatening the sustainability and the success of the lobster fishery?
One thing I suppose I've always held the belief that is, for all our good work with V-notching, it's only a token gesture, really, in the scheme of things. Because I'll tell you, as successful as it has been, there's only a few who actively bring in lobsters for V-notching. And all the good work we've been doing and the result isn't matched by any protection of the actual stock, and it's not matched by participation by everybody. And it should be easy, I would think. In my ideal world, it should be easy to get everybody involved. In the old days with the salmon fishing, you had your licensed boat and all, but if you wanted to go salmon fishing, you had to have a separate salmon license, and you paid a fee every year, and not everyone got a salmon license either. Mm-hmm. You could apply, but you might not necessarily get it. But I know they've tried in the past to get a lobster license back years ago.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it seemed to get bogged down in politics and lack of effort being put in by the people who needed to have it put in. And I don't know, they just kept shoving it along the line. But really, you see,
mm-hmm.
every June you get your polyvalent license issued to you if you behave yourself. The minister has the right to take it away from you. But if you play your cards right and you have all your boat right and everything, you get your license issued automatically every year for your polyvalent license. Well, why couldn't it be that
right,
for a nominal fee from the whole fleet who has any interest in having pots out, be it a super crabber or a little Mickey Mouse boat, they should have a fee attached. If you don't pay your €20 or your €100, you don't get your lobster license. It should be simple.
Mm-hmm.
And that money should go towards V-notching.
Yeah.
So even if somebody, and they're very few, but even if somebody doesn't like this V-notching thing and thinks it's a waste of time, whether they want to or not, they're still contributing. And otherwise they just don't get their fishing license, overall fishing license. And straight away you'd have money going in, it would fund itself, everyone would be involved, the whole fleet, because the whole stock has been built up on just a token of V-notching as far as I see.
Mm-hmm.
And so the threat to the fishing then, the sustainability, well, it's like I said to somebody recently, say going shooting something with a submachine gun isn't sustainable. But if you go out shooting something with a bow and arrow, that's sustainable. But if you've got hundreds of guys and girls going out with bows and arrows, shooting everything, then that's not sustainable. So in the first instance, fishing with passive gear such as lobster pots is sustainable. The fact that we're doing the V-notching is sustainable. That's adding to the sustainability. But if we've got so many pots on the ground now, like the old men thought there was pressure on the ground when everybody had 150 pots a boat twice a day or something, they were hauling them. But we've far surpassed that with terms of pressure on the ground. And then what the scientists refer to as technical creep.
Mm-hmm. I'm
guilty of it myself. A little toy boat, 23 foot now, I had a 21 footer for 12 years before that. In the 21 footer, which was landmarks and a paper sounder. And then I remember I got my first GPS and I didn't believe the thing. I didn't believe what it was trying to tell me because I was so used to the old way of doing it. And now I've got 2 GPS plotters in the toy I have now.
Mm-hmm.
Autopilot, video sounder. You don't have to worry about the paper running out. Landmarks, keep that to a bare minimum. We rely on technology. The gears got better, So everything has increased. The number of pots I personally work has increased. It isn't I want to work more gear. It's just if I went back to the way I was fishing 20 years ago, you'd plug away, but you wouldn't be as efficient and effective and as viable as what I am now. And that's only hanging by a thread because of the prices. I without going into the figures of it all too much, I suspect I could look at old books to find out, but I suspect that my effort has gone up and the catch rate has gone down because we're enhancing the stock, but we're not protecting it at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
and I really don't know how it's going to change, to be honest with you, because it's nobody's fault that it's like it is. I don't think there's any particularly greedy people involved in our industry, but it's just the way it goes. You need more gear and bigger boats, more boats. Even if there's less boats and men than there was before, even if that was the argument, we've all become much more efficient, myself included. There's no question about it. I started fishing in the 70s with a 50-footer. We had 100 pots 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And if we could help it, we didn't fish weekends. And even in that boat, she had Deca and everything, but it was mostly done on landmarks. And so even when the fog came down, we usually stayed in, as did all the other 40 and 50-footers.
Yeah.
And now I'm in the little toy boat. Fog doesn't matter. Coming home in the fog, autopilot, cup of tea. Watching a video game. Yeah, the radar. There's one dot. That's me. There's a couple other dots. Right, keep it out for them.
Yeah.
Plotter, tell me where I'm going. So we're all very clever, and the thing that pays the real price is the stock.
Yeah.
And unless we do something about, close season, gear limits, pot limits, I don't know.
Yeah.
What are we at? We're going to keep going the way we go, that we are going. Will it keep going?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Some solutions are needed. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's not going to come from the bottom up at this stage. I'm a great believer in things coming from the bottom up. But I think at this stage, well, will it come from the top down? I don't think it will. Who in the Department of the Marine is going to get their hands dirty by, bringing in something they're going to be getting a heap of heat over?
Yes.
Why are they going to get involved like that? Not at all. They'll just stand back and leave us cancel each other out, I think. Yeah.
So what do you envisage for the future of the lobster fishery, say, over the next 25 years? I mean, if you had a crystal ball, what would you see? Is there a future there for young, up-and-coming fishers looking to enter into the lobster fishery?
Well, as fellas have often said before, there'll be lobsters long after we're gone, and there will. As regards the future, I've thought about this a bit from time to time. Quite a lot, actually. And all I can come up with is I think there'll always be some form of fishing in Dunmore, but I think without a change of government policy, where whichever government we get decides we really have to look after this thing and in a meaningful way, in the absence of that happening, I think what you'll have the guys we think of as a very efficient boats now they won't be as efficient in years to come, but there'll be significant players, and they'll probably move on to like the super crabber thing or something like that. And you'll have a couple of those guys based in Dunmore, and then I think you'll probably have boats from away, probably given the grounds here, kind of the odd raid. That's if they can get through the wind farms and all that, of course. But unless there was a change of government policy, I can't see where the local industry is going to come from, the local small handy boat inshore industry. Because everything you see there at the moment in Dunmore all came from the salmon days in the 70s, herring drifting days in the winter, many small boats, and, that's what sustained them. And all the effort over the years, because those things being closed down or become beyond the reach of small boats, everything's been concentrated into potting, more and more effort. And so I don't really see how, and now the younger crowd, they don't want to work like that anyway. I can't see where a local fleet is going to be born out of the lobster fishing in Dunmore. But by that I mean, young fellas being brought into it, making enough out of it to kind of start a family and stuff like that, all the things you want from a job, which is a wonderful job, by the way. I didn't get that bit. To stick at this fishing thing, you have to love it, or else you've got to like it intensely. And I think I suffer from a bit of both, and that's why I stick at it. It's fantastic, and everything you make is your own. It's a fantastic job altogether. But there's so much stuff against it. you're kind of criminalised being a fisherman, and now to add to everything they've discovered now that lobsters miss their mammy and everything, and oh God, we'll probably get a heap of heat from the food with the face crowd and everything who want to stop eating glorified insects. They don't want that, and there's a lot going against it. And it's a lovely job, but it's like they can't wait to get rid of us. And this isn't something that's happened this year. Decades of neglect and political manoeuvring behind the scenes from other interests. And it's like they don't want us there. And why are they trying to get rid of a renewable indigenous industry? Why are they trying to get rid of it all the time at every turn?
Yeah.
It just seems the pressure is down and out.
It would be lovely to find out the answers to that question. Why? Why?
Yeah, I don't know what the answers are. I just don't understand the mindset. And you can't blame the crowd that are in now, or the crowd before that, or the crowd before that. There's been decades, 40 years ago, I remember hearing that they didn't want us at the job. And Jesus seems to be there in fruit now. It's one of the best jobs in Ireland if you want it, if you can put up with it. It's a fantastic job. I know I've worked at other jobs too, so I kind of know what I'm talking about here. So it's hard to see how it's going to bounce in the future. But if somebody could get hold of the whole situation and could say, right, we're going to make this thing work now. For a start, they'd have to make it attractive for younger guys and girls to get into. They'd have to pay people like me to bring youngsters out and show them stuff. Because, we're the last of the Mohicans. There won't be too many coming behind us the way things are. And, okay, look, the few bits and pieces I know about it, I could tell a kid in a week, really. And they'd be set up. It wouldn't take much now to figure out what we do, but it wouldn't take much. But they have to make it attractive. And then they kind of need something in Dunmore. Since the co-op went and the auction, that's another thing that was taken out of Dunmore. We lost our co-op and that. So now you have no business coming in with a bin and a half of herrings or sprat. There's no point because nobody wants that. They only want tons and lorry loads now. And if you came in with a little bit of fish, a little bit of this and that, nobody wants it. So the government could have set up a fish selling company so that they bring back the local market, bring it back to the quayside. So so if a guy or a girl wants to go at something else other than lobster fishing, they can go and fool around with a few nets or something like that. They have somewhere to sell it. Whereas now all our stuff goes to Kilmore Quay. We're in a designated fishery harbour, and there's nowhere to sell fish. There's nowhere to buy a coil of rope. You can't go up the road and buy any gear at all. You have to go to Wexford. Wexford isn't a designated fishery harbour, yet they've got loads of boats. They've got something like 3 factories and a chandler's. Dunmore is a designated fishery harbour. We have a sailing club. We've got the SFPA office. We've got Coast Guard. We've got the Adventure Centre. We've got Fish and Chip Shop. Yeah. We've got
agriculture.
Yes, agriculture. Yes, and that's a thriving business and fair play to them.
Yeah.
But anything to do with fishing, like I've always said, it's like one of those whaling stations in the Antarctic. It's just abandoned. It's just derelict. Yeah. And it's kind of hard to watch. It really is hard to watch. And so there we are with our bee notching, which I feel is just a token at this stage, because what's happening too is seeing a lot of the initial enthusiasm that was there all those years ago is we're down to I suppose 7 or 8 of us who still, not alone do we believe, because it wouldn't be fair to say other lads don't believe that they do fully, but they don't bring in lobsters for bee notching. And one of the reasons, and I understand it, some of the old guard are saying, but sure, look, we're just throwing back small ones now, or enhancing the small ones just to be fished by people who aren't supporting the thing, And I can understand the mindset there, and it is a bit disheartening if you think about it too much. But we're so used to doing it now. We're so programmed to look after the old stock that the same 7 or 8 of us keep doing it every year. And I should add that UAM are funding it basically. I mean. That 2% levy I spoke about earlier, of course, what happened after a while, the usual happened. Guys stopped, a couple of the buyers stopped taken that 2% off the top of the gross, and then guys stopped paying it themselves, and the whole thing just meandered to a kind of a halt, So BIM kept the funding going from their part. So instead of the 2% levy, now we just rely totally on the subsidy from BIM, which is great, fantastic. The problem is, of course, sometimes we can only notch at a certain price that's set by BIM.
Yes.
And so therefore, like, as soon as the price comes up a bit, there's too much of a gap. Most fellas don't mind. I don't mind a couple of euros a kilo or whatever, but if it gets to 3 and 4 euros a kilo straight from the market price, it's a big ask. To ask the same guys to keep notching and losing out on those few fish, even though they can see the benefits. So it's without BIM's input, I think at this stage, I'd question how many we'd get done now, to be honest with you. But it's a pity to see the thing kind of slipping away and getting weaker. It's not getting stronger. It's getting weaker, and it's a great thing, but there has to be some kind of a curb on the season, the amount of gear. Who's going to do it and how it's going to be done, I don't know. And if it can't be done, or if no one will do it, well, maybe someone else can tell me what they think will happen, because you can't just keep taking water out of the well. Eventually something's going to have to give. And I've pondered it quite a bit, but I don't know the answers, Bren. I can just see what's happening on the ground.
Yeah.
And it's like, how are you going to stop a guy who's a friend of yours? How are you going to say to him, hey, you shouldn't be fishing there, just because the weather's fine and you're in the position of having gear out? Why shouldn't you fish there? Of course he should fish there. I'd fish there myself if I was in that situation.
Yeah.
But it is hard to watch, but it's nobody's fault at the same time. You're not going to expect a guy who's got repayments and stuff to say, oh, I won't go into Ballymacaw Bay in the middle of January because there's big high pressure and give it a rattle. You can't expect a fella not to. Of course he's going to go in there. I'd do it myself, sure. But unfortunately, it can't keep going. I don't think it can keep going. I'm surprised that nature keeps producing all the fish it produces. Because, even on a slack day, we're still every day. You think about it, say there's 15 boats. Well, I'm just throwing this out off the top of my head. I haven't really thought this through. But even when the fishing is really, really slack, those 15 boats, albeit over a kind of just call it a 100, what would it be, 10 miles by 10 miles for argument's sake, it's easy reckoning, 100 square miles, not going to be quite like that. But like those 15 boats have probably taken, 10 boxes of lobsters on a really slack day off the ground. What about all the other days? And nature keeps giving. So maybe it'll just keep giving, Bryn. Maybe I'm huffing and puffing about nothing. Maybe the whole thing will just keep ambling along.
It sounds like the VNotch scheme is working because it's able to produce for all those boats all year round.
The amount of small,
so that's
unbelievable. Yeah, but so maybe it's all okay. Maybe there's no point in kind of fussing about it. Just keep her going. Stay out of trouble. You can't help feeling that it's a race to the bottom, and it's not just me saying it. I think the general, even from the guys who have the bigger boats, and and good luck to them. But even they're saying, they're kind of, we have these chats. We're all kind of saying, even they're saying to me, I don't know how this is going to keep going.
Okay.
But, so I haven't got any answers, Brent.
Plenty of questions.
Plenty of questions, boy. Plenty of questions. We just keep plugging away, sure.
Yeah.
So someone has a better idea.
Thank you very much indeed. Good fishing to you. Talk to you soon. Okay, all the best. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
We are 27 pots, just called Ballymacaw, just under a mile off Ballymacaw on the 3rd of August. Two keepers. Hello lads. This is what I got out of 27 pots, undersized. I haven't counted them, but I'd say there's probably 60 or 70 small fish there. Here's our measure, 87 millimeters. Here's one. She's well under it. That's right, there you go, well under it there. But this little baby here, we're seeing more and more of these guys. The last couple of years, just about the size of a handy prawn. Look at that. So I'm going to leave these fellas off now. I'm going to try and film this. Okay lads, go forth and multiply. There we go, hopefully I won't drop the phone. There we go lads, go forth and multiply. You're looking to go lads. Oh. That's for anyone who says bean auction doesn't work. There you go folks.